Okay, since now we're at the halfway point, and who was it that wrote this story? Blah, blah, blah. It was in the Orlando Sentinel, but the basic gist was kind of grading the major areas of play through mid-season. And I'm like, well, how's the special teams doing? How's offense doing? How's defense doing? For defense, I'll just give an example. What I saw that didn't like defense, I think overall has been really good, except for right there in the middle. The linebacking core has been a little bit porous. We got massively burnt at the end of that LSU game. We had that 40-yard little dump ripped up the middle. So defense, I'm happy about, but there's some spots that
we're definitely susceptible to the big play. In terms of the linebackers, and really all the guys on the defense, I think we're running around and we're making plays, but Janoris, I guess, would be that guy who you say, is the man, but I think you need a middle linebacker that's really just going to enforce his will. Bostic may be that guy. He's young. Jelani Jenkins is all over the field. You got Brandon Hicks, A.J. Jones. There's plenty of guys there. There's talent all over the place. I'm really starting to feel that a lot of it's just coaching. For whatever reason, some of these things are putting the players in bad position, or maybe they're not picking it up. But if the players aren't picking it up, the coaches got to pick up on that and make adjustments. I think we're going to see some adjustments. Our back's against the wall, very little margin for error now, and we'll see what happens. Maybe a little bit more pressure up front, more blitzes. I mean, heck, let's throw it all out there. Take our chances because our goals are still ahead of us, and we're going to have an opportunity. But as well, the offense isn't holding up their part of the bargain either. They're putting the defense in bad situations, and the talent's there. I just kind of think it's a little bit of play calling. There's not much we can do about it right now, though.
It's certainly hurt not having Demps on the field.
Yeah.
It's almost surprising that that's not made a bigger deal of by media folks, because anyway, I think that's a massive deal that he's not there, and with Rainey being gone, but hopefully Rainey back soon.
Yeah.
Probably not for this game for Mississippi State, but Georgia, hopefully.
He's got some hoops to jump through.
Yeah, you got to act right.
Keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, just toe the line, just walk. All right, so transitioning off kind of the grading, we talked defense and talked about some disappointments on offense. There's definitely some boos happening at the stadium in the LSU game, and it's, I think, kind of the boiling over of a lot of sentiment that you've kind of touched on already about this play calling just seems so predictable. And have I seen this before? Is this Groundhog's Day? Have I seen this movie for like the last 2 years where it's dive, dive, dive?
Yeah, they're trying to set something up. There's something there. There's a reason they keep going back to it. But watching the NFL this past weekend, and some of the breakdown on ESPN, they really talked about, running downhill and the offensive line getting some push. And it's hard to do that out of the shotgun. Brantley's a drop back passer, put him under center more maybe. Let the running back run downhill, get some momentum, because all he's doing right now is, just kind of dancing around a little bit, looking for a hole. And I think our best plays are when we are just hitting him in the mouth. But it's really frustrating when you see LSU fall forward for 3 or 4 yards. You see Alabama get 4 or 5 yards on every single rushing play, and we have a hard time getting past the line of scrimmage. I mean, that dive play most of the time goes for a 1 or 2 yard loss. I'm not against it,
against running in the up the middle, but you gotta tweak the package a little bit.
Yeah.
If we're looking at the disparity of if the lines are between us and our opponents are relatively evenly matched, if the end result is four positive yards for one team and then nothing or 1 for the other, after lots of repetitions, something in the scheme has got to be tweaked.
It's really hard to put it on the skill players, the receivers and the running backs, and even Brantley, because the line just is not doing their job. I mean, we got some injuries, but in particular, it's I just think there's too much on Adazio's plate, and ever since he took over as offensive coordinator, the line play has suffered, and you can see that. I don't care how many All-Americans they say we have and how many guys grade out at champion every week. They're just not producing. Anybody can see it, and I hope the coaches are just, trying to say the right thing and not get too down on those players. You know, whether it's the player's fault or it's coaching, you know, I don't know. I'm not really qualified to say that, but something's got to improve there. Got to make a change. We need a spark. You know?
Here's the biggest problem that I see with it is not necessarily how the execution is actually happening. It's the perception of it. So it's like for the fans for a while, there's been like the sentiment of, well, you know, Dazio, rah, 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 rah. And, you know, the players are standing behind him. But here's the big problem, and we saw actually it was either this morning or last night, when we're getting uncertainty in recruits. That is a problem. So we had, what's his name?
AC Leonard.
Yeah, AC Leonard from Jacksonville, 4-star tight end recruit, who's all Gator, and then decommitted. And when he came out of the game on Saturday, and somebody asked him about his commitment, he's like, "Yeah, I guess." It was basically his comment after the LSU game. And decommitted, and not just like decommitted saying, "I'm going to go test the waters," but that the Gators are out of the market, and now it's down to like Alabama, South Carolina, and Miami or something like that.
I have a hard time believing that. I mean, supposedly his high school coach said that that's not the case. He's still committed to Florida. He's just going to be looking around, which would probably be the smart thing to do. But I understand his frustration. He looks at this offense, and other players are going to look at this offense and say, how do I fit in? How are they going to use me? We've recruited a couple of big-time tight ends, you know, and they're sitting on the bench. They're hardly getting used. I don't know if they're big enough. They don't block. What the problem is, I don't see them every day in practice. But that's going to happen more and more. It's definitely happened since Meyer's been here with running backs. They look and say, oh, man, they're not running the ball. They're throwing the ball. They got Chris Leak. You know, and then all of a sudden you got Tebow, so he's like eating up all the carries. You know, and now we have a crowded backfield. We managed to pick up Mac Brown last year, but we haven't really seen what he can do because he's a true freshman. A lot of pieces have to come together for players to develop and perform at a high level once they get to college. And it's very easy for some of them to fall through the crack. And I think, you know, a lot of these recruits, I was sitting down there looking at the, you know, recruits sitting in the south end zone there, and I'm like, man, is this a good product? Are they looking at this and they're excited to come here? I mean, the crowd was into it. It was an electric atmosphere. It's a big-time game. But there were boos. I mean, those boos may not have been for the players. May have been for Adazio.
But that's still not a good thing, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it's like, you know, there's still good hope for the season of SEC championship. There's still a viable option, but I would think, at least for me, I would rather err on the side of opening it up and playing to the different positions, as opposed to saying, well, let's stay in tight, and if we follow the course, we can still win out and get to the SEC championship game. I would rather take the risk of losing a game, losing another 2 games, but showing that if you come and you get on the field and you're going to do these sort of positions, that you get the ball in your hands.
I agree. I mean, I think we should open it up. I mean, these kind of years seem to happen every 3 years. Look at 04, 07, and now, you know, 07, the defense was really, really green, and we put up huge offensive numbers. At least it was an exciting year. We had something to rally around.
Yeah.
We were in games, but now I feel like we get down by 10 points.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I felt against Alabama, and I felt that way against LSU. If it wasn't for Mr. DeBose, you know, we would have been out of that game, and I probably would have been leaving a little, you know, pretty early in the fourth quarter there. But you know, he took it to the house, and he made a game of it. But it still doesn't change the fact that we didn't really deserve to be there in the end.
Yep.
You know, bad call or not, I mean,
got beat solid the whole game.